Welcome to the Our Team Podcast, powered by eXp Realty. Are you an agent looking to level up? Are you someone looking to buy or sell real estate? Fantastic. This is the show for you.
All right.
So we are today back to podcast. Have Hector here with me from Ticor Title.
What's up, guys?
And you've got different cameras. Okay. That's on me. That's on you. We've got the three right there.
Ooh,
or,
okay.
The group shot.
Okay.
But today we wanted to bring you in to talk about prospecting and circle prospecting specifically, along with farming, and how those are keys foundationally for any business, realtor, or even, whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so with that, let's start with circle prospecting and how that works and how it helps to make us all successful.
Absolutely. So thank you for bringing me on, first of all, Eric. So circle prospecting is really my specialty, right? So when I sit with an agent, it's finding a center point and what's around there. So, for example, you just sold 123 Main Street, right? It's finding everybody around there who's also likely to sell. The biggest mistake a lot of times new agents make is they want to go after all 1,000 people around that address. Where my approach to it really is finding the ones that are targeted, whether it's high equity, long-term home ownership, empty nesters, and then hyper-focusing on those people, right? And so it's important for a lot of times for new agents and experienced agents, just because you're not wasting your time or your money on prospecting people that don't make sense to go after, right? So that's the first thing I look into when I meet with a client and go over their business plan and structures. All right, who are we marketing to, right? Who are you spending money on marketing to, and making sure it's as minimal and it makes sense for them as possible. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
What types of steps are you doing to bring out that circle or the prospects? What type of
systems we have? So the systems that we have in place, I use a multitude of different ones, and they all kind of talk to each other. The biggest thing is we have our Ticor Tech Farm, which any title company has really their farming system, kind of like the MLS has their geographical farm. Just kind of finding what's in that area, like a mile radius, and then from there we start bringing it down, filtering out what we don't want, what we do want. So from there I'm able to import into different systems, whether it's getting their contact data, right? It's getting how long they live there for, what kind of equity position they have. And then from there, we can start importing to it until we get to that small list of, let's just say, those 25 likely to sell. And then from that point, you can put them into your KV Core or whatever CRM you guys are using at that point to really follow up with them.
And are you keeping the data that you create for others and running your own process on it, or is it a generation type thing?
What do you mean?
Are you just generating the data and then shipping it out? Or are you also then processing that same data and keeping it on file and running your own systems on it while we're running ours?
Correct. The way I like to run everything is I create an account for that person, but I also manage it for them. So I keep it all in one organized place where we can both jump into. So if you wanted to add to it, or I wanted to add to it, or remove from it, we both have the ability to do so. And so what's nice about that system, it updates automatically too. So every 2 weeks when the county gets updated, that system also gets updated. Anything that's happening in your area that you selected. So whether somebody moved in, moved out, there's a death, a divorce, any major life event that gets recorded through the county, we're on top of it. And so we're able to keep track of multiple different farms. I think our system holds up to 3,000. So you can definitely manage a couple within there. And so it keeps us on top of, up to date of what's happening in our areas. And it keeps you as the agent in the know. So you're always on top of it, right?
And so it's truly like a living document.
Exactly.
Both you are my partner, so therefore we're working together.
Exactly.
And every agent feels the same way.
And we're both able to jump in there. So I'm able to go in there and say, hey, Eric, I saw that this happened in your farm. Let's maybe target these people this way, right? So we're always able to adapt, not just doing the same thing. And we're always changing with the market changing as well, trying to find different niches within those farms or those areas that we want to go after.
And with all that being said, what am I missing? I know that I can't cover it all. Circle prospecting isn't the end-all, be-all, but what do you see as a key takeaway?
The biggest thing is just being targeted. Targeted is going to be the main thing in anything with circle prospecting. So if you're going to do a just sold, a just listed, an open house, I recommend doing circle prospecting around each one of those. So there's not just a limit to just doing your neighborhood, right? So that's something that I would definitely recommend is if you just sold one, even if you're on the buy side, circle prospect around there. There could be 25 likely sellers around there or buyers that we're totally missing out on. So always take advantage of those opportunities that are there. Definitely, I'd love to sit with all you guys one-on-one and find out what those people are in those areas for you guys.
And if you're not with Hector and Ticor, reach out to your title rep and see what they're willing to do for you. If not, contact
I
them.
appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother.
Well, we still got a little bit more to do.
No, I'm here for a while.
We're doing a little
You're
bit of
good.
farming.
Okay.
I know that creating the farm is key, having multiple farms is key, but talk about why farming, how farming works, and what makes a successful farm.
So farming, you kind of nailed it. You hit the nail on the head before we started talking on the podcast. As far as that's going to be setting up the generational stuff, right, for down the line. So like with real farming, you're setting the seed now for next month, basically. And so with farming, again, whether it's circle prospecting farming or just a continuous neighborhood farm that you're doing, it's very important that you're consistent with it. Anything in real estate is being consistent. So if you're going to be farming a neighborhood of 500, hit them up minimum, I would say 3 different times in a month. Right, that's what my takeaways are with the farming. Is whatever area you choose, make sure you're consistent with it. Also, look into the demographics and the turnover ratio of it. If it's a super low turnover, less than 5%, I wouldn't waste too much time or money into that type of farm. We would maybe try to relocate it, find somewhere else that has a higher turnover, 5% or more, right? And also find out your demographics. If you're marketing towards an area that's 55 and over, you're not going to be doing TikTok dances, right? You're going to be looking at more postcards, more of the physical, more of the emotional stuff versus the fun dances and the Facebook ads. So knowing your demographics, that's going to be important for your farming as well. And for any agent, experienced or new, it's important to have a farm. And your farm could be your sphere of influence as long as you're hitting them consistently as well.
So if we play the hypothetical game and we hypothetically are using our sphere of influence, how would you target that?
So with your sphere of influence, because you built it out over time, you probably have their contact info. What I would recommend, going back to what I was saying about the farming, hit them up minimum 3 times in a month. Whether it's, hey, just checking in texts, door knocking them, just doing drop-offs, pop-bys. I think Tom Ferry's big on that, right? So different things like that to stay on top of your sphere, right? Stay top of mind. Because it's always like, if you just do it one time, how many other agents, you got to think about whoever else is also hitting them up, right? So you want to stay on top of that. So your sphere.
Okay. With that, where do we see farming? Do we see it changing and how it's done? I mean, where was it? It was probably physical, door knocking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where is it going now?
I would say it's actually back to the basics. The main 3 things that I'm seeing work really well right now are the cold calling, the door knocking, and then the postcards. So anything you do on top of that's only going to help you, of course, but the 3 main basics that worked in the past are working really well right now. That's what I would say.
And do you see changes occurring or farming techniques, or is it just keeping up with the newest platform?
I would say the farming techniques itself is staying the same. It's who you're going after. So we're going towards more of a little bit of a buyer's market, I would say. So maybe finding now buyers that are, good income, good credit, and targeting those people, which before in the last year you saw, we were only targeting listings, which listing is still king, right? We still want to go after those people. But of course, now we want to cater to a different audience as well, whether it's first-time home buyers, people who just moved in, maybe including them in the marketing, which we weren't before. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in the changes. But the marketing techniques itself, the door knocking, the cold calling, that stays consistent.
And then how do we go about, you said you were saying let's go after the high earners and things like that. How would we get data for that?
So we have tons of different tools and data banks that we buy a lot of data from. It's all available in our Tycore systems. It's literally a search away. I'll give you access to it. We sit down one-on-one. We'll get you access to that account so you can pull all that data yourself. Like I said, you can find ethnicity, occupation, what language they speak, how many generations in a household, veterans. You can get as detailed. It's kind of scary. You can get as detailed as you want within that farm system.
Well, we have to be careful. There are ethics violations at some point.
Use it with caution.
I think I'm going to use you to vet my stuff. That way it's not me. What do you think that we have forgotten to talk about? I mean, what you're doing is not just, this or that. You're busy talking about circle
it's
prospecting.
Not a one-size-fits-all, too, like with anything. So it's always better. I can say, do circle prospecting, but that might not work best for you, right? So it's always taking a look one-on-one with the agent, see what they're currently doing. I also don't want to reinvent the wheel. If you're doing something that's working, I don't want to add more homework to your desk, right? I want to see how we can make it easier for you and more targeted and just make more sense for you, right? That's really what the goal is when I meet with an agent. Not just, here's all these cool tools, figure it out. It's how can I be a partner with you, help you get more business, right? And I can earn my business that way.
And what are your top agents or top teams looking at, or what are they seeing and using recently?
The biggest things is going back to what I was saying as far as the basics that are working, helping them out, find their targeted postcards find out their targeted audiences for the postcards, right? Finding out who they're going to be targeting. We have that app that's the walking farm app. So if you're going to go door knocking, you can know at least who you're in front of, who you're asking for, things like that. That's what a lot of my top teams are kind of resorting back to. they're big on call nights again. I'm seeing them get together once a week and call these lists that they're getting from our farming system, right, to really contact them and try to generate business that way instead of paying for the Zillow or whatever third-party systems are out there.
And if you had to say anything that I forgot or anything that you feel that you want to mention that we could talk about?
Yeah, just basically I want to do an overview of what we talked about. So the importance of circle prospecting really is just finding who's in an area that whether it's a buy side, a list side, or an open house, finding who's the audience around there, targeting those people, and with the farming, just being consistent with it. And then we have a plethora of tools that are there to help you out. Really dive deep on that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you.
I wanted to quickly thank you for tuning in to the Our Team podcast. And whether you're listening on Facebook Live or you're tuning in on YouTube or maybe listening to a podcast, I wanted to just say, if you found any value in this, would you please take the time to like and subscribe? And if you leave a comment, that really helps the show as well. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.